All right, happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to Pro CTE Tips by Blake Walker. First thing I want to say is I say Pro CTE Tips because I'm not a pro at anything, but I consider myself a pro because I've been living with this for, I'm assuming about 20 years. And so I feel like over the last couple of years being able to study this and really get introspective about the things that I've had to go through and some small techniques that have really helped me pull myself together to try to get me back on track. So the first thing I want to say is, a lot of times when someone has CTE, addictions, depression, they end up losing themselves. I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of articles on social media about men and how they lose themselves throughout their life and what they can do to kind of rebuild themselves back to who they are. So my first advice would be to find out, take pride in something. What are you a pro in? And it could be the simplest things, right? So when I started thinking of things I was a pro in at the point where I was at the bottom, I was a pro at depression. I was a pro at anxiety. I was a pro at drinking, right? That was my drug of choice. It's one thing that a lot of people with CTE, a lot of people that played football, it's kind of an all-in-one, right? It's numbing your pain. It's helping your mind slow down a little bit from all the chaos that's going on. And you end up just self-medicating yourself, right? So I decided to tell myself that, hey, I'm a pro at depression. I'm a pro at anxiety, and I'm a pro at drinking. And if you can, sit back and tell yourself that, say it out loud. Say it out loud and see how ridiculous that sounds. And that's that first little baby step to realizing, what am I a pro? What could I be a pro at? What do I love? Where did I turn? Did I take the wrong turn in my life that put me here, where I am today? So, a lot of things. After I made that realization, I have a beautiful family. I have a beautiful wife, beautiful home. I've got dogs and animals and bunnies, and I had my own business. I had a car dealership. It was amazing. It was a fun time. I'd get home and I'd be depressed. And it took me months and months and months to stop and look around and be like, if you told me 20 years ago that I'd have a beautiful wife, three beautiful girls, a bunch of animals, and a beautiful house, I would have laughed at you, right? But now I have those things, and I lost the ability to be happy in those places. Something was wrong. Something was wrong. I couldn't figure it out. And so the more and more I couldn't figure it out, the more and more I decided to drink, right? And so then COVID hits. And so I know, like a lot of you, most of you that are drinkers, probably started drinking a little bit more during COVID because of lockdowns, because of, losing their job, just a lot of different factors, everything. I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy. Our kids were going crazy. They were depressed. There's so many things that were happening in everybody's lives that, it almost seemed like there wasn't a light at the end of the tunnel, right? But for me, there was at the end of a bottle. So, having CTE doesn't necessarily mean that you will abuse substances, but there is a very high probability that you will. And I think the studies are a little bit flawed right now. They say it's about 1/3 of everyone who has CTE has some type of addictions, whether it be opiates, alcohol, other drugs. But again, if the word's not out there and you're not being studied, I guarantee that the number is probably twice that. If all of these football players that were playing in college, in NFL, even some high school players that were really standout, really hard-hitting individuals, if they each went in, obviously you can't determine whether you really have CTE until you die, right? You need an autopsy. There's a special protein that ends up, that's what's eating your brain away. And so there are a lot of underlying factors. There's a lot of telltale signs. There's a lot of changes in people's lives that make it very obvious, right? And then obviously the other scans, MRIs that I've talked about that really help you understand what parts of the brain are having issues, so you can help navigate yourself, around it. So real quick, I just want to read a quick paragraph here from the Springfield Wellness Center. It's about addiction as a contributor to CTE. So it says, on its own, addiction makes significant changes in your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Studies show that many of these changes are similar to what happened in people with CTE. That includes loss of control over impulsive behavior, mood swings, and the lack of clear thinking. Today, researchers use substance abuse and addiction as potential contributors to CTE. Much of what's known on the subject comes from studies of athletes. Football players in particular are likely to develop painful injuries over time. To recover from these injuries, they are often prescribed potent painkillers. Unfortunately, doctors are overprescribing these medications. In addition, many athletes self-medicate their pain for these factors. So, of course, my drug of choice was alcohol. It was working, but it was killing me at the same time, right? I talked about before the 4 stages. I'm going to try to get the first stage done today, make another video. But what I realized is by looking at the stages of CTE and the differences, when I was at a point where I was drinking heavily, my stage would go to the next stage. So right now I believe I'm kind of in the mid to upper ranges of stage 2. So when I used to drink, a lot of my days were spent in this stage 3 attitude, okay? So the drinking, it ends up eating your brain even more and then just progressing it so much faster, even though it's doing what it needs to soothe my pain and everything that I'm going through. So one of my doctors said it was that actually the alcohol was kind of keeping me alive, went into a catatonic state, and they said that the medicines that they give you to get you out of those states are very, very similar and act on the same receptors as that alcohol and those medications. So the last thing I want to say is have a great day. I just posted something about suicide. Looks like you can hop on there. Looks like you could just do a video cast. If you know anybody who's having any type of problems, I would say not even to have them look at it. If you're worried about somebody, I would say you should hop on. You should educate yourself so you can see those warning signs of those people. Because someone like me, it was in my mind 10 years ago, but then you put it to the back of your mind because you don't want to face it, right? So sometimes it takes someone who is in your circle of influence or is in your support system that can come to you and give you the advice that you need, and to be there as their caretaker, to maybe give them that extra push to take that baby step in the right direction. So just remember, you are the writer and director of your own life. Have a good day.